You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
All right, let's cook. It is August 13th. I don't know why I have a cold, but I have a cold. It's Nick Alberga Zack Phillips, the latest summer edition presented by Bet365. What's going on, Zach? How are you, bud?
Clearly feeling better than you are right now. How many days until your departure? Like, what's the timing here
I leave
on
tomorrow. It's like great timing. I
Oh.
wake up yesterday with a scratchy throat, and I'm like, here we go. It's just going to be a battle to get to Europe. But here we are.
Are you a, pump the meds guy? Like, take you behind the scenes. If I ever get sick, you should see the pharmacy that I deal with here. Like, I will go to you and I share the same grocery store down the street. I will go there. I come back. I've got vitamin B, vitamin B plus. I've got cold and sinus, extra strength, NyQuil. Like, I've got everything. And I'm trying to get that thing out of the system within like a day and a half at max. Like, I am doing everything in my power to get rid of it. Is that what you do? Because I know some people are more like, no, I don't do the meds. I don't add that stuff.
I'm just at a point where I want to quantify what I have because it feels like I've hacked a pack of darts and I haven't smoked in now 7 years. Did go to the store yesterday, grabbed some cough syrup. Of course, that doesn't work. Bought some med just to get through sleeping at night. That doesn't really work. So I was up till like 4 or 5 a.m. Really bizarre, but I'm king of getting random sicknesses. My immune system sucks. I got mono when I was 17. It's never been the same. So we battle on. The timing is shit because we are 56 days away from puck drop, Zach.
I know, and every time I look online, I see some random player that I haven't thought of in maybe ever, actually, that's listed.
Did you see
as
today's?
Like, no, what was today's? I saw like our Leafs Nation accounts on Instagram and Twitter putting it out regularly, but I've seen like the Oilers ones pop up and stuff too. Who's today?
Your boy Byron Frazee today. Byron Frazee.
Yeah, my boy. Shout out Byron Frazee.
Yeah, we gotta get him on.
Dude, how depressing is it though? Like last night, I think I watched 40 minutes of this YouTube video that was 2000. It was like 2000s kids will know this, which to clarify, I was born in 98, but close enough. And it was like just theme songs to TV shows that I watched in my childhood. And like I just sat there with my girlfriend being like, you remember this one? I'm like, there's no hockey to watch. Like there's nothing to do. Like baseball's fine, but then at some point I'm like, all right. Like I watched the Jays game. Jays game's over. Now what? That's what I did last night.
Dude, that's me on a nightly basis. I won't lie. Last night, I watched half of that Liver King documentary on Netflix, and I'm like, can't do this, and I turned it off. That whole family, man, they got some stuff going on there. That's all I can say.
Yeah, get out of there. Do the SEC football doc. I started watching that one. That one's good, at least.
Yeah. I don't know. I bounce around a bit. I've been heavy on the Netflix as of late, but still lots to cover with this Maple Leafs team. It is a quiet time, but next thing you know, it'll be the month of September. We'll be looking forward to training camp and so on and so forth. And as mentioned, 56 days away from puck drop. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. You know what I was thinking about yesterday when I was at the gym? This has to be one of the worst off seasons in NHL history, period. You know I'm a big fan of movement and trades. It has been, like, outside of the Montreal Canadiens and maybe Utah, can you make a claim that somebody has grabbed this off season by the balls and said, we've won this thing, we're going to be better next year? Because I can't.
No, that's a good point. Montreal, and even to that point, like Montreal and Utah did their damage. What would you say? Like before the trade deadline, really? Like it's not like they went nuts on July 1 and then continued after. Like they did it into the draft, leading up to July 1, and then it was like, all right, thanks for having us. Like, well, these guys, you know how the insiders every year we always hear like, okay, they put their phones away and they disappear to their cottage. The GMs did that this year as well. It sucks. The NBA always finds ways to grab attention then, and I guess this is when the NFL is coming back, so maybe you're not necessarily trying to compete with them, but there's a period in there where you could jump in and you could kind of grab you know, the sports world, not just hockey fans, the sports world by storm. Like, you think about the year, and I'm going to forget exactly what day it was or what time of the summer it was, but when Tree Living swung the Matthew Tkachuk trade, like, that was a talking point on radio shows probably, and you were probably doing it like every single day for 3 weeks straight because it just was out of nowhere in the middle of the summer. It was the only thing that was going on and just grabbed everyone's attention. Nothing. And I feel like it's just going to get worse with the new CBA.
Well, that's exactly it. And, there is a salary cap in place. Don't tell that to Bryce Harper, of course, in Major League Baseball, who kicked the commissioner out of the clubhouse. I don't know if you folks caught that. But I think with the excess in money, I think doesn't favor anybody. But it's just been so dry. And to me, it's like maybe there's nobody out there. Like, everybody wants to engage and try to manifest a Mason McTavish trade because he's an RFA. Like, if you're Anaheim, why would you deal in a position of weakness right now when it comes to Mason McTavish, even if you have ideas of trading the guy? Jordan Kyrou, like, Doug Armstrong's the randomest GM in the league, and he's probably the most proactive GM in the league. I don't think he's going to wait till late August and trade Jordan Kyrou. Like, I don't foresee a scenario, and I know people are trying to say maybe Pittsburgh, maybe it's Rust or Raquel. Maybe these names come out of nowhere to wrap up a very, very long offseason. I just don't see it. And you can blend that into the Maple Leafs conversation because we think they're probably one forward away. And I don't look anywhere right now immediately and I'm like, okay, like the Leafs need to do that or it's going to happen or it's imminent. It just doesn't have that feel this year.
No, it doesn't. I was thinking about this when I was getting ready for the show here. Like, okay, what do the Leafs still have to do to add or to make me or us as a fan base feel more comfortable about where they're at as we head into this next season? It's like, okay, you still got to add that top six guy, and Roslovic seems to be the name that's out there. He's obviously free agent, but I don't know, and we can talk about this here, but the more I've thought about it, I'm a little bit more out on where Roslovic is, and not that I don't want him here as a player, but like that's not the answer to me. So there's something else. And then it's like a little peek inside my brain of how I'm thinking about this. Like, I don't want to come here on the show and just tell people, like, that's not the answer. They need more. It's like, okay, well, what's the solution then? Let's try to find something. Nick, I spent like 30 minutes looking at like the top players that are expiring next year or within the next 2 years. I'm like, who the fuck is going to be traded? Like, they're like, Minnesota's not coming out and swinging away Kaprizov. Eichel's not going to get moved here by Vegas. You know, like the Oilers, unless McDavid comes to them tomorrow and tells them that he's out, like they're not trading those pieces. These guys are staying put that are on the top end. In the middle ground of those upcoming free agents or players who could be on the move, like, teams just aren't going to part with those guys because they're still competitive teams. Like, there's just nobody out there. The only thing I could really kind of see happening as we get closer would be get to training camp and somebody surprises you. Like flip it to like a Toronto perspective, right? Easton Cowan comes in for the Leafs. You don't know if this kid's going to be able to jump in and make the team right away. You don't know if he's going to make an impact. You don't know the camp. But he shows up, lights the world on fire, and you go, damn, we have to give this guy a spot. Like, it's mandatory. Okay, now somebody else on your roster is expendable. Now maybe you call and you're trying to get rid of Nick Robertson or name your player in the lineup. I think we're just going to have to wait till camp, unfortunately, because we're sitting around. You've timed this perfectly as you're going to go on your vacation, and I'm going to have to fill in here.
Good luck.
And it's going to be me and Rosie hopped up on painkillers talking about his pecs. But it's going to be nothing for the next 2 weeks until we get there, I feel like.
Man, that's a sad reality. A good Brunton portion of the podcast this summer has been spent talking about Jay Rosel's pec. He's under the knife today. We send our well wishes to him at the Leafs Nation 401 here on YouTube. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Since we're on that topic, I tend to concur and agree with you on Jack Roslovic. Like, I already see a scenario where they sign this guy and 2 weeks in, we're like, shit, doesn't fit with Nyes and Matthews. What now for Jack Roslovic? And quite honestly, good player, but this has been the story of his career. Like, you start to wonder and have questions. The Carolina Hurricanes, one of the premier teams in the league, why didn't they want Jack Roslovic anymore? Why hasn't anybody bit it's August 13th. I think he's an effective player, but I think to have this expectation, if you're the Maple Leafs, that you're going to sign Jack Roslovic and he's automatically going to mesh on that top line is wishful thinking for me.
Yeah, I think we need to, as a fan base, have some lower expectations with that one. If that does come to fruition and he does sign here, like, there's actually probably more likelihood that it doesn't work than that it
Agreed.
does. Like, the expectation would be, okay, he's a guy who can fit into maybe your second, likely your third line, and then on the positive side, on the bright side, on the most optimistic outcome, he is an impact player. But, like, that's kind of the same vibe I just keep getting, man. I'm looking at the stats, which don't tell the whole story. Maybe it doesn't tell you exactly who he played with or the situations or the minutes, whatever. It's all fair. But I'm like, dude, we're going to sign this guy that you and I have made 300 thumbnalls for this summer and put out videos and clips. And we're going to sign him, and it's going to be like, ooh, all right, well, does anybody want this guy? Like, how can we get him out of here? Where does he fit now? I do feel like that's going to be coming around the corner, but who knows?
Nickel City Grunge writes in, Jack had 22 goals on a D-first Carolina team, and is Matthews' buddy worth the try for $3 million or less? Is it worth the try? I mean, they have 72 forwards, so if bringing in Jack Roslovic, if you bring him in, it means you got to find a way to trade Robertson and Kempf and Yarncroke, right. And like, I just don't know what kind of return you're getting on these guys. Like, a lot of it's about asset management too, and you've put yourself in a position, if you bring in, say, a Roslovic, that there has to be an exodus, and maybe you're not getting the value you want from these guys in terms of transactions. Right,
and $3 million is just a random number that's effectively thrown out there here at this point, right? Like, I don't know. You might have heard more or know better than what I do, but I feel like it would come in above 3. That's kind of the sense that I got. Not like we're going to blow this out of the water at 4, 4.5, but I felt like above 3. The Leafs have 1.9. Let's go through the number. $1.918722, $1.918 million in cap space available. Automatically, if you just go at 3, the low number there, you're knocking stuff off. Guys have to go out. I don't know, Nick, does he differentiate himself enough from what you already have in Calle Yarncroke, in David Kampf, in Max Domi, to justify bringing him in to move those guys out and have to deal with that hassle?
He blends in, man. Like, that's a good question. And by the way, I know Puckpedia put out a whole post, I think it was last week, about that cap space hit for the Maple Leafs. Apparently that number is a number with Pezzetta and Myers in the American Hockey League, which tells you, like, that's not really the number, considering guys would have to go on waivers. So I don't really look at that number specifically and say that's how much cap hit they have available to them, but certainly like a ballpark reference. I mean, to get back to your question, how much of an upgrade is he on Calle Yarncroke? Like, is it cruel to say I'd rather have Calle Yarncroke and his experience and what he's brought forth? I know the last year and a half hasn't been pleasant, but a guy like Roslovic has really, really bounced around. Like, I remember early on in his career in Winnipeg, you're like, shit, this guy could be a can't-miss prospect. But another prime example of a guy who just can't find consistency at the NHL level, and here he is in 2025. He's a free agent coming off a pretty damn good season, but you tell me he had 22 goals. We have this convo every day with Nick Robertson. What did he have? Like 15 goals. What's the difference? 7 goals? Like, right. I mean, it's not much of a difference for me where I'm like lining up to sign Jack Roslovic. And I know he fills a need. He played with Matthews in the development program. He shoots right. Check, check, check. But I don't think you need to force it. Like, I was thinking about this. Like, would I rather Jack Roslovic, or would I give Easton Cowan a legitimate shot to make this roster and this team? I think that'll be very telling. If they bring in Roslovic, probably means Cowan's starting the year in the American Hockey League.
Yeah, and I like Nickel City Grunge here brings up he says he scores over 20 goals. How many does Domi, et cetera, get? Well, Jack Roslovic scored 22 last year. The year before that, he had 9, 11. Then he had 22 with Columbus in 21-22. He had 12, 12, 9. Like, you get where I'm going at here. Like, he scored 22 on the high end. He could score 25 this year playing with Austin Matthews, possibly. But he's not a perennial 20-goal scorer that you can just bank on those numbers coming from. And as Nick just mentioned, there's other guys who are putting up around 20 goals as well. Like Nick Robertson, love him or hate him, the guy goes in and out of the lineup like a yo-yo and then just comes in and is guaranteed to score on his first game back and then light the world on fire, dwindle off, go back to the press box, come back out and score goals again. Like, he scored 15, as Nick just brought up. What the hell's the point here? You just went to ARB with the guy. You got him for less than $2 million, and now you want to go sign Jack Roslovic for, who knows, like throw a random number, a mil and a half more than what you've just signed Nick Robertson for 5 more goals. That's it. Like, I get the optimism of people saying it could go better, but again, look, and it's not a shit on Jack Roslovic session here. It's not the point. I think just more looking at it from a Maple Leafs perspective, it's like there's so much hype around this guy. I've almost talked myself out of him being a solution here or like a legitimate fit.
Well, that's exactly it. It fits the big word for me, where it's like I'm always careful, especially in like mid-August, to make this assumption Jack Roslovic's going to come in. He's going to be in that top line. He's going to score 25 goals. We see these lines change on a game-by-game, shift-by-shift basis, regardless of the coach. So my mind wanders. If Roslovic doesn't stick on that top line, is he on the second line? Maybe. Can he play a checking role on the third line? Fuck no. Can he play on your fourth line and have an identity? Probably not. He's a gray area guy, man. He's like a top 9 guy, middle 6. I don't think he is best equipped to be on the top line. And again, you're right. Like, this is not a shitting session on Jack Roslovic, but the more I think about it, you don't go acquire the player just because he fits the bill and what you're looking for. And like, let's try him out. Like, I rather, in a perfect world, maybe you bring him in on a PTO and see how it works out. It is PTO season. Exactly. We saw Jack Johnson get a PTO with Minnesota. Maybe that's the end game here, but it sounds like I touched base with a couple people yesterday. It sounds like a multitude of teams are involved. The Leafs are one of them. I think Vancouver is another. There's a couple others that want to get something done, and it seems like the consistent response from the Maple Leafs is we're interested, but the whole salary cap thing. And I think that's been the big convo with this team all summer. Like, even the Ryan Reeves move was so necessary to take just a body out of the fray, but they still have multiple guys, not to mention Robertson, Yarncroke, Kampf, and you have to be careful too. If you're Brad Treliving, you want to get rid of these guys, but you also want to get something in return. And if everybody knows that Roslovic's on your roster, they're going to be like, hey, here's a 7th rounder, give us the player, eat some money too. It just, like, the Maple Leafs have to be smart about this whole thing. So definitely something to monitor, but it got my mind wandering again when it comes to Easton Cowan. Who else could be a fit? Who knows, man? Maybe they start the year and it's Calle Yarncroke on that line. I know a lot of people are down, but I think if there's one thing I've learned with Brad Treliving, all this conversation about trading guys, he is very patient. Remember last year, we thought the Robertson deal was coming, and then somehow guys were injured. Robertson didn't show up for a while. Like, I think they're gonna play this out like they've done in the past couple of years at least.
I think that's probably pretty appropriate here. Like, there's no need to force your hand or get yourself into a position here where you're gonna have to just dish off guys for the sake of it because everyone else is looking around knowing that guy has to move. It's like you talked about with Anaheim earlier in the show here. Oh, McTavish, that's the guy to go after. Well, everyone knows the situation going on in Anaheim right now. They're not dealing from a position of strength. What's the point of them going and making that move? I think that this is going to be one of those summers where going into it, especially looking around at what you have and what you had just lost and what you're trying to obtain within this roster and trying to fill in some of these holes and what could potentially be coming up throughout this season with some of these expiring players, you don't want to jam yourself up throughout this year either. This is going to be one of the last seasons that you're going to have some flexibility to trade. The new CBA is going to make things a little bit more difficult when it comes to the retention and that kind of stuff, where you can't necessarily swing a guy within 10 minutes from one team to another and have some team hold on to their money. There's like a 75-day regular season period that it has to pass through. It's going to make it tough. So you got to kind of make sure that you're ready to do some stuff this year if those trades are coming. And if you go out willy-nilly, like Jack Roslovic, 3 years, $3.5 million, and now all of a sudden you can't get rid of David Kampf for what you wanted to, or Calle Yarncroke, and you're just jamming these pieces into the roster and trying to dump guys off. Later on down the road, like people also have to remember these things that maybe aren't as easy to understand or as like known publicly, but like salary cap, the accrual of it throughout the season, and how much space you've had all year, and the injuries you will deal with. These things matter, and GMs and Brandon Pridham, they're aware of that stuff and will try to meticulously keep things in order so that they can maximize the amount of space that they have when it comes to trade deadline and who they can go out and acquire, because pieces will become available as the season comes on. That's the other thing, Nick. Like some team, Buffalo, well, that was a bad example because they're just not that great in general, but you get what I'm going at, where it's like somebody thinks they're going to be better than they are, and Calgary, thank you, and it doesn't work. And all of a sudden you're sitting around going, oh shit, we have to get rid of Nazem Kadri, Rasmus Anderson. Well, if the Leafs sit here, blow all the money that they have, all the roster spots, all the term, and all of a sudden Conroy calls Tree Living and says, okay, fine, we're willing to work on a Rasmus Anderson deal, and he's like, I signed Jack Roslovic to $3.5 million for 3 years in the summer. And you're like, well, shit, you're out. Because you couldn't dish off some of these pieces. You want to make sure you have some of that available. I think being patient here throughout this it's in the best interest of everybody involved for the Leafs at this point, Nick.
I agree. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Jose Duarte, thank you so much for the super chat. Do you think the Leafs will go after Zacha in Boston? So he has, I guess, 2 years left at 4.75. I don't know if I like the fit. He'll be age 30, UFA 2027. Again, 2 years left in the contract. I don't know. I think Zach is a guy who's always been expected to be better than he has been. He's had moments in his career, just hasn't really taken off. And again, like every player, consistency is the big story with Zacha. So I'm going to say no to Jose's question. How about you?
I'm going to say no as well. And this is where I used to be more susceptible to it. Not as much anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty easy to throw out players who could potentially be available. But, like, ask yourself just immediately off the top, what need does that guy fill? Like, okay, in your opinion, where does, like, even Nick, like, answer this. Where does Zacha fit into this? Like, if you're trading for him as the Leafs, right? Okay, so then he comes in here as
you couldn't even do that in Boston.
Exactly. Like, that's my point. That's where I'm going with. Like, he's not really doing it that great in Boston right now. And now you're just saying like he's gonna bump JT, who we all kind of think probably has one more year of 2C. So is Pavel Zacha your succession plan for John Tavares the year after? Like, I don't see that being the case. So it's a pretty easy no for me. And Jose Duarte says, rumor was Zacha for Cowan and Robertson and a fifth. I think that would have been, if that was real, that would have been like all time fleecing. All time.
No, those are one of those rumors you see on like those Leafs Digest pages on YouTube that just get these random ass people clicking and be like, did you hear this rumor? And then there's a picture of like Elliot Friedman. There's a picture of Brad Treliving. That's where you got that rumor, Jose. Likely.
Probably. Reddit, deep in the Reddit pages.
Fuck, man. I don't know what's happened to social media and new media in general. Some of the shit I see out there that just gets those clicks. Let's do it. But no, I can't see. I'll phrase it this way. I can see the Leafs like departing and moving on from Easton Cowan, but it won't be for Pavel Zacha. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, that does make sense. It's going to be, if it's going to happen, which I think people got to be prepared for, that if you want to win, you want to compete, you want to go for the Stanley Cup, and you want to push your chips in, like, prospects at some point could potentially have to be moved. It's just the reality. I don't know. Maybe I am like optimistic and want to believe. I just feel like there's gonna be a big. maybe it doesn't come to fruition, but we're gonna find out like throughout this year that True Living was going for something big.
Swinging.
Like I think,
Yeah.
I think he's gonna go swinging, and it may or may not work, but let's be realistic here. Unless Easton Cowan fits himself into this top six and is like a can't miss guy, it's very likely his name is going to be out there throughout this season, and I wouldn't be surprised, if his name does come up and he gets moved.
I'll say this: it's refreshing for the Maple Leafs to have cap space, and it is August 13, and I think they did exactly what I expect them to do this summer. Not because of the potential free agent crop next summer, but it's been tidy work. I think I'm positive, optimistic about where this Maple Leafs team is right now. But I was curious to get your reaction, your dissection of Stephen Ellis's prospect pool breakdown of the Maple Leafs, putting out a list and a piece over at dailyfaceoff.com back on Monday. And Easton Cowan, unsurprisingly, number one on this Maple Leafs prospect list. But the one thing I'll preface having this conversation, if you're making the playoffs every year, chances are your prospect capital isn't going to be of, say, like one of the worst teams in hockey. It just doesn't work that way, obviously.
Yeah, Steven pointed that out in the article as well. People should check it out. But he did kind of mention that, like, it's not the highest end talent, but that's what you get when you're trying to win every single season, when you're pushing chips and when you're going to making trades. Like, look at just last year, Gurbankin and Minton out the door. Those would have been two of their higher end prospects. Now you look at what they had last year if Steven wrote this article versus what he's going to have this year when he writes the article. It's going to be a drop off because you lost both those guys. One thing that he did point out in there, which I think was interesting, especially compared to when I've read some of the Leafs prospect like analysis in seasons past, is he points out they don't have the highest end talent, but they have a much deeper pool, which I thought was interesting because he kind of just pointed out like they got big guys who are, in my interpretation, guys who are all going to be able to compete for some bottom roles in your team, whether it's fourth line or third line, or they're going to be bottom pair or your fourth defenseman potentially. They're going to be guys who are going to be able to compete for that within the next little while, which, sure, it's not like going and getting your Nylander and Marner and Matthews when they come through here, and it's like, yeah, this is a can't-miss guy who's going to fit into that spot. But it's nice to have that, knowing that in years past, we never really had these guys who could graduate on from junior to the Marlies to the Leafs in any sort of capacity. Like, there was boom or bust type situations in a lot of them. And I know people are going to kind of turn around and point out some pieces that maybe I'm missing. Like, okay, yeah, sure, Pierre Engvall worked out and he made it onto the Leafs. My point being, he doesn't effectively fill a role that you need to be able to go on and win a Stanley Cup in guys who are like fitting into your lineups in specific roles. And Steven kind of made it feel like, or seem like, they have pieces who are going to be able to fit. You know, you look down the list and you look at the forwards that they had and some of the guys he brought up, like Koblar, Nancy, McHugh, and Bell. He kind of pointed out those are all big physical guys who could fit in your fourth line. You look at the defense that they have: Weber, Chadwick, Danford, physical guys who block shots, can play 5-6. Like, I can't really remember a time where we were looking at the prospect pool in Toronto being like, yeah, those guys all fit in and could play those roles some days. It was like, is Topi Niemela going to be running the power play next year? And then it's like, oh, shit, he's in Sweden. Whoops. You know, like, it's like, oh, the guy just couldn't do that one thing and he's gone. Feels like there's, with these prospects now, like a little bit of variety and some diversity in them.
Drafting with purpose. And Victor Johansson, who we talked about a bit a couple weeks ago, coming off a really good summer showcase or whatever they're calling it in junior hockey. He was awesome. I know even talking to Stephen Ellis, he said that was one of the players in that little breakdown and showdown specifically that really caught the eye of scouts. So somebody to monitor. But like my major takeaway from this list, and I know we did our bold take show like 3 weeks ago, would you be shocked that the Maple Leafs made a trade in the last year and they included one of their young goaltenders? Like, I don't remember a time when the Maple Leafs possessed this much depth in the crease, whether it was the Maple Leafs or the Marlies or their system in general. Like, 3 and 4 on this list, Dennis Hildeby coming off a difficult year. I think that turbulence happens naturally with young goaltenders in this league. He's a guy I'm expecting to take that next step again this season. And the Russian kid, who I refer to as the Russian kid because I can't pronounce his name, but Artur Akhimov is a guy that I think we have to start taking very seriously in this market to be a potential NHL goalie. But I think there's always teams out there, and Edmonton always stands out, where it's like, we can't find a goalie. Well, if you're Toronto and you want to acquire somebody, hey, we got a couple guys that we think could be something. I think that's good stuff from them.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since we've had like legit goalie prospects coming through here and actually being able to make their way up, which is a comforting feeling. And I would even push it to which you got to be careful with how you do it in going into a season, because you don't want to just be like, all right, yeah, we can get rid of this guy, and then the kid's not ready, and then you end up with a situation where you've just got a starter, and then the backup's unplayable because he's not ready, and you've rushed him. But if one of the kids shows that they could take a step, maybe step themselves into the NHL and be a consistent backup until they can compete for a number one job or whatever, maybe you're looking at moving one of the other guys. Like, maybe they become a little bit more expendable, which then means you can get more. Like, I know you're talking about Edmonton. Edmonton might be more willing to take a shot on a guy like Joseph Woll, who I was looking around at a sports book yesterday, by the way. They have odds to be the starting goalie for the Oilers next year. Joseph Woll was listed plus 10,000 to be the goalie for the Oilers.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, maybe look for him.
Are they going to entertain my Hyman for Woll deal? Is that what's going to happen?
I don't know, but I've entertained it, so I'm willing to run with that, and then it's stuck in my head now. But point being, having depth means that you don't have to be as scared about moving on from one of your goalies. There were years past where we're like going and trading for Dave Riddick at the deadline to make sure, and bringing in our boy Carter Hutton to make sure that you've got at least some type of security. Love those guys, respect to those guys. Those days are past here in Toronto, because they're at least looking and going, well, Hildeby, Akhimov, they're here. They could help out if needed, whereas before it was just like, if you get past... Dude, there was Michael Hutchison coming up and
playing.
Oh,
buddy,
like...
I was just going to say, I lived it. Those 2 seasons, me and Gord Stellick did Leafs Nation pre-intermission and post. Holy shit, man. I've never ripped on goaltenders like I did those 2 seasons. Producer Vic was in the mix there, too. He remembers. Like, oh, man. It's tough.
That was a terrifying time. I remember I would be like, because that was when I was just starting doing like post-game shows. I was just doing my own channel and shit. And I would be looking at the lineup for the night, and it would be like, coming out from the Leafs PR, like, tonight's starting goaltender, Michael Hutchison. I'm like, holy fuck, this is going to be a heater of a post-game show tonight. Like, can they outscore the Colorado Avalanche with Michael Hutchison in net? Probably not.
They actually beat them with Hutchinson.
Yeah,
they beat them a couple times.
Just pulling out a crappy example, but I mean, just looking and seeing that Hutch was playing was just like, wow, this is going to be a shaky, exciting night. But yeah, I don't know. Having the
remember Eric Källgren?
Remember he came in and he was like a stud for a couple.
They always
games.
are. Yeah.
And it was like, we've got the next guy. Where is he? Where is Källgren now? Wasn't he like with the Devils or something recently?
Okay. Well, wait. I'm down a rabbit hole now where I'm just looking at random obscure Leafs net minors in the last 5 years. Remember that year they had Campbell, Woll, Källgren, Mrazek, and Hutchinson all play games for them. Hutchinson played 2 games, 4.57, 8.57. And remember, I used to lose it with Gord Stellick because he's like, I heard he's a great guy in the room. Like, he also can't stop the puck, Gordo. Like, I don't care if this guy's the best guy in the room. He could be the best guy to shower with, best guy to party with. If he can't stop a puck, he's not playing his job and doing his job correctly.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
To answer your question, Källgren is back in Sweden. Surprise, surprise. Plays for Brynäs Gävle in the Swedish league. 32 games this past season, 2.61, 890. So right there. Eric Källgren now 28 years old. Wow. Okay. There you go.
Good for him, I guess. Back in Sweden.
What an era, man.
Wait, what team?
But it just shows you, in getting full circle to the conversation, they actually have depth in the crease. Like, I don't get concerned if, Stolarz goes down or if Wall goes down, which happens quite frequently. Like, they have guys they can bring up. And Hildeby's a prime example where just things can shift from month to month or summer to summer, where going into last year, people were like, shit, Hildeby could be onto something. He could be pushing for playing time, and had a miserable season. You just don't know with young goalies. Like, you just don't know what direction this is going to go.
Yeah, and they often take a lot longer to get there as well, right, which is another thing. Yeah. And it does make you feel a little bit more comfortable knowing you've got Wall, you got Stolarz here for at least bare minimum one more year with these guys to give them a little bit more room. We saw Hildeby step in last year, and it wasn't pretty, and he goes back to the Marlies, and he lights the world on fire with them, which is like, okay, he's obviously got it at the pro level. It's just whether or not he can figure it out going from AHL to NHL, but... yeah, you do never know. I mean, Stolarz stepping in at this age and point in his career and just being let's call it just a unreal tandem goalie, a great 1A, 1B, like, I'm sure there was nobody looking around at him at that point in his career, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, just be like, yeah, that guy will be the number one goalie confidently heading into a playoff series. Like, it just, who the fuck knows with these guys? The goalies are a weird breed, dude. It's like guys.
Oh, you know it better than me. You played high level hockey, even in beer league. They're weirdos, man. They're just like, they don't shower with the team. They show up like 3 minutes before. Like, they just do what they want. I told you about my beer league goalie right now. He doesn't take shots and warm ups. I'm like, that's the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life.
You.
So, yeah, I called him out. Remember, I said, if you don't take shots anymore, we're kicking you off the team. He started taking shots again and actually making saves. So, great development on that front. Yeah, I'm still looking down this rabbit hole. I remember this season because I was working it, but and when they picked up No Save Dave, and that was their big acquisition at the deadline was David Riddick.
COVID.
He actually played decently well, 2.72, 888.
It was COVID, right? That was when they added him. They added the third goalie. I think it was like maybe I'm wrong here. You correct me if I am, but I think it was like a third or fourth round pick for him. Wasn't it? Didn't they pay something? And it was like, oh my God, what are we doing right now? I remember that was like an era where I used to just get like TSN. I used to be locked in on like TSN and Sportsnet notifications like on my phone. I would just be pulling those things, especially at that time of the year, anything to do with the Leafs, and it would just be like trade alert coming through. And I just remember seeing like David Riddick. I'm like, oh. Okay.
It was the third.
Like, aren't we?
Third round.
It was the third. There you go. And he was the third goalie. We brought him in as the third goalie, and we paid a third-round pick.
Hey, prices are prices, okay? Prices are prices, Zach. I was interested to see Kyle Dubas did an interview yesterday with Cam and Strick, which said his biggest regret was trading Mason Marchment. How about the Kadri trade? Was that out there? A lot of regrets.
I was listening to it this morning. There were a few.
How was he? Good?
I'll say
responsive.
Yeah, he was good. He gave pretty good answers. I'll give him credit. He very clearly acknowledged he made mistakes, which I think was commendable, I guess is the word I'll use. The takeaway for me, which was frustrating to hear, was that I put a lot more blame in retrospect on Shanahan and the group that elected to put him in charge of the team. He came out and literally was like, yeah, looking back on it, I wasn't ready and made a lot of mistakes. It's like, okay, good on you for acknowledging that, but like, let's take you out of the equation. What the fuck were we thinking? Like, putting you in there. He literally said, he's like, I was a rookie GM taking over a team that was, like, ramping up to go and compete for a Stanley Cup. Like, I made mistakes. It was just like,
it's fair.
Yeah, you did. Good on you for acknowledging it. I actually respect him for that and saying it and coming out and being open. But, like, at that point now, you take away and you put the blame on the guy who put him in the position to do those. We don't have to rehash the whole thing, but obviously he came out and did the interview yesterday, so it just kind of was topical. But, like, that was my big frustration watching it. Just hearing him say that, where I was like, I can't even be mad at you. Like, I can't believe you were put in this position.
You know what I was thinking, too? Imagine the Leafs had let Kyle Dubas go to Colorado. Would the Avs win the Stanley Cup still?
Or would the Avs have traded Gabe Landeskog for Morgan Riley and name your fourth liner?
I don't know. Who's that guy they always brought back? I forget his name now.
Kerfoot.
Who's the guy they always picked up like 3 times that I can't remember his name
Rosen.
right now. Producer
Callie
Vic
Rosen, was that who it was?
Not Callie Rosen. He was a
Rosen?
forward, but they picked him up like 3 different times under Dubas. He loved the guy. He even brought him back from Europe one time. Do you remember this guy? I gotta remember now. Anybody in the chat, can you help me out with this? There's like an infamous name.
Who? Oh, no, not Malgin.
Yeah, it was Gino Malgin. Gino Malgin. That's who I'm thinking. Thanks, guys.
No,
in the chat.
Gino
JS,
Malgin was the Marchment trade. Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck. But they brought him back 63 times. They're like, this guy's different now. He ripped it up in Europe, Zach, and then he comes back still soft as baby shit. It's amazing.
Yeah. I couldn't believe that Marchment was the biggest regret, but I still got to listen to more of that. Yeah, it was an interesting.
How could it be Marchment? You traded Nazem Kadri, and you got nothing. And Kadri goes there and he wins the cup. And like the irony of this all, you've been looking ever since trading Kadri. You've been looking for guys who actually give a fuck in the playoffs. It's amazing. It's bewildering.
Or let's go down the line and think about hiring Sheldon Keefe as. And again, no disrespect to Keefe, but putting him in the position that you did where you were trying to make a push for a Stanley Cup and take the team to the next level, and you brought in a rookie NHL coach. Like, not saying Keefe doesn't deserve an NHL job, but maybe it wasn't in Toronto at this time. Or what about the contracts that were handed out where you folded one after the other after the other?
Yeah.
There are plenty of mistakes I could probably pick from. I mean,
kudos to Cam and Strick. Really good get, because Kyle Dubas doesn't really do media. I thought it was a Toronto thing, but it's a Pittsburgh thing too. Like, I just never hear the guy talk. And, you know, I called him Kyle Koresh when he left this team, David Koresh in Waco, and watching those documentaries, man, people are just fixated by this guy. Like, in fact, I had a buddy from high school who has cut ties all conversations with me. He does not respond to me anymore. He works for the Pittsburgh Penguins, we'll say that, and doesn't like how I feel about their general manager or what I think of their GM. I don't think he's a good GM. I'm entitled to have that opinion, whether it's in Toronto or Pittsburgh. I mean, he's doing the same thing there, and it's unfortunate because they got Crosby and Malkin and legacy guys, and this is how their legacies is going to wrap up. You know, they're. I mean, he's going to be known as the guy who trades Sidney Crosby. You want a bold take? I think Crosby's going this year. I think he's going at the deadline. I think he goes to Colorado, bold take or not. But Kyle Dubas could go down as the GM who traded Sidney Crosby out of Pittsburgh. Okay, I'll just put that out there. Anything else to add?
No, I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I want to see Crosby move just because I want the thrill of it at the deadline, but we'll see.
It scares me. I'll be honest.
I don't disagree with you. To be clear,
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah.
No, it scares me just because I can't stand Habs fans, you know this, and they're like, oh, Crosby in Montreal, yeah, because he's gonna go finish his career in Montreal. It's like, might as well just retire. That team's not winning shit. Colorado just makes all the sense in the world. And I was at the draft in Los Angeles, and I said this on the podcast that I know for a fact there's way more smoke than people think with that story. I know Georges Laraque took a lot of heat for that, but I'll just put that out there. And I think definitely I'll be watching Pittsburgh. JS did have a question, which I did see in the chat. Pretty much asked, like, Nick and Zach, do you see the Leafs making a trade with Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins for maybe like a Rust or Raquel? Are those two guys that you're looking at or monitoring over the next couple months, Zach?
Yeah, Rust specifically. Rickard Raquel's an interesting one. I was the biggest Ricky Rax fan before he went to Pittsburgh. Like, I wanted him in Toronto that year that he ended up getting traded there. I wanted the Leafs to go out and pursue him. They didn't get him. Was a little bit disappointed, and then it's been a weird situation for him in Pittsburgh. I think if you get like the high end of what or Rickard Rakell could be at this point, let's do it relative to age and where he's at in his career, not with his peak in his career, but where he could be at now. If you get him at peak and you get him rolling and you get him with the right guys, I think he could be a very suitable player here. I think he could help you probably there with your power play. I would say not the first unit, because where the hell is he fitting in, but your second unit and being depth and that kind of stuff. But again, it's cost and dealing with, it's the same shit that you're dealing with on the other side where you got Conroy and you're trying to make a trade for Kadri and Anderson, or at least what we're hearing. And then it's like, well, True Living was here in Toronto. Is that going to be the case there going to Pittsburgh and trying to deal with Dubas? Like, very possible that the tax gets increased on these kinds of deals, or the price gets increased. But both of those guys, I would definitely have interest in. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do know what the cost would be and that would be an intriguing number for me, but yeah, for sure, those are guys I would explore.
Look, we've tackled this so many times this summer, so I'll let it be. We've talked Urkel and Rust and all these names, so I'm going to settle off in the sunset for vacation. It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. Any bets? I don't know if you're a big avid bettor in the summer, but anything you're looking at even from the Maple Leafs perspective?
No, I mean, honestly, there hasn't been much. If you want something for the Jays, who are just an absolute wagon right now, and you
love them. You're horny. You were horned up last night watching your musical titles from 20 years ago, and I saw your tweet last night. You were horned up. I was like, what's going on there? Okay.
I started watching all the I watched the game, and then I stopped watching the game like a little bit earlier. And then I was watching all the highlights from it and everything on Twitter. I'm ripping through after watching all that, all the clips and everything coming out. It's a fun team right now. The building's packed every time you've gone. I don't know if you've been recently. I went 2 weeks ago. It was like a Sunday 1:30 game, packed barn. You know, it's just a good vibe, especially when the weather's nice here. If you want something fun for tonight over on Bet365, obviously if he doesn't end up in the lineup, but I think he will, so it should be fine. But Dalton Varsho home run plus 525 on Bet365. I'll take a swing on that one. Yeah.
Good segue, too. Fun. He was a guest on the 6-inning stretch this past week with Lindsey Dunn and Whit Merrifield. So make sure you check out that interview. They've been slugging out big guest after big guest. And Varsho's been a great story, man. His slugging rate's ridiculous. Like, I think he's hitting at like a 60 home run clip, just keeping him in the lineup. But, yeah, there's a reason for excitement. And I love momentum in this market. Why don't you ride the momentum of the Blue Jays season right to the Maple Leafs puck drop on October 8th? How about that?
Wow, what a line drop there by you. You let quickly before we end this thing off and then you disappear into the sunset. What's your next couple of weeks looking like? You don't have to disclose where and when you're going to be there, but what's the itinerary like? How's the vacation shaking out?
Well, firstly, I'm going to say like the sunglass tan, fingers crossed, won't be happening to me. Like you got cooked. Your eyelids got cooked.
Dude, they're still recovering a little bit.
Fuck, man. Poor guy. You know, you took it. We never did talk about Europe. Remember going to Europe, you're like, it's nice here. Do you have a newfound appreciation for Europe now that you've been there?
No, okay. Let's rewind that quickly. My whole point was I don't like going away in the summer as much because, like, we have good weather here. Like, I'd rather go away in the winter, which is no longer something, I mean, very lucky to have the job I do, but no longer something that I can really do because it's more so, like, trying to escape the cold weather. Like, you live through it. You see the shit. Like, you and I walked down to the bar that we were doing the shows at last year, and we're just trudging through fucking gray snow and shit. Like, it's gross. I want to get away from that.
Yeah.
That was more of the point. But I will say,
Okay.
like, the heat was the same. The sun was what is different. Like, the heat was the same each day. Like, we were looking at, it's 29 in Toronto. It's 31 here. Like, it's the same. The sun is different. It gets you to a different degree over there. That was the big takeaway for me. I was like, holy shit, this stuff cuts through.
To answer your question, getting a bit of relief to start the trip, headed to Dublin, Ireland, and I think it tops out at like 21 there. It's like 14 at night, doing a couple days there. Then we're going to start hopping around. I do Nice for a couple days, Rome for a couple days, Barcelona for a couple days, and then wrapping in Lisbon. So you'll find me at Pink Street absolutely pinned by the end of this trip. But yeah, that'll be a theme moving forward.
Perfect. Well, that'll be fun. You got all your Euro outfits and everything ready? Or are you ready to go?
My
for that?
Speedos
Or
are ready to go,
you
man.
just, like, perfect. That's what I was hoping for. We'll have to get you on the show then when it's me and Rosie over the next couple of weeks, and we'll get you in there to see how your trip is.
Yeah, I've learned to pack light at this point. I've been a couple times now. I do laundry midway through, so I won't be the guy who's, I just carry on special for me if you're bouncing around Europe that way. But yeah, looking forward to it. So I'll be back in the month of September. Zach and Rosie, who again having surgery today, so sending our best to Rosie, pec surgery, as we all know. We'll have a show per week moving forward to wrap up the month of August, and then I'll be back for September, and it's pretty much go time. So looking forward to it, Zach.
I'm looking forward to it.
Who are you looking at? Where are you looking on your screen now? You're looking away.
I have like text messages that come up.
Oh.
We just got a funny message from producer Vic. So
I haven't seen it yet.
But yeah,
Vic's
I'm
a
excited.
Preds fan
I'm excited
again.
Yeah, he's a Preds fan. I'm excited to talk real hockey and not speculation. It's fun for a bit, and then it's just like you and I get on here and we do this, and I listen to you and Rosie for pretty much every show. I started talking about shit, and I'm like, man, these guys have already talked about this. The chat has already heard this. I feel bad because I'm saying the same stuff we've already talked about. I want to talk about real hockey again, and things that are actually happening and not things that could happen or should happen or might happen. Enough. Let's play hockey. Let's just play hockey. Let's get to it.
Amen. Just to uncork a bit behind the scenes, there has been progress on the second ever Leafs Nation vacation. So more information coming on that in the month of September. And speaking of that, the first one happened in Nashville. Producer Vic hitting the road off to Nash Vegas. We had the little joke over in our First Nation vacation that he had become a Predators fan. So we'll see how this scouting assignment goes. Maybe he's going to scout Jonathan Marchessault or somebody of relevance. Maybe Luke Evangelista is a name I brought up earlier on this summer that the Leafs could be interested in. So variety of different routes, Zach. Enjoy the next couple weeks. We'll talk soon, bud.
Thanks, buddy. You too. Enjoy vacation.
Thank you. There you have it, Zack Phillips. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Very active for August 13th. That's for sure at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Zack Phillips, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk soon. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rozo. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks.